And there we go. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live for Women Leaders. And our topic of today is breaking barriers abroad, navigating cross-cultural confidence. So if you are an expat, if you are planning to become one, if you are thinking of it, or if you are in HR or wherever you are to serve expats, then this is your place to be. I'm Helena de Munk, I'm your host. I am a transformation guide for smart, conscious, and high-achieving women, supporting them to break their inner glass ceiling and find fulfillment and unstoppable momentum in every aspect of your life. And I am thrilled to be here with Camila Quintana. Camila is the founder of the Empowered Expat Woman. She's a certified life coach. She's an author just launching her book. We are going to talk about that later. And she is very much into everything that is expat and women. Welcome, Camilla. I'm thrilled to have you here. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me, Helena. I'm great. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. And yes, can't wait to begin. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Absolutely. And this is a LinkedIn event. It is not really easy to have a lot of interaction, but we love to have that interaction. So if you are listening in, or if you are watching the replay and you have any questions, feedback, comments, or whatever you want to share with us and with the other people listening in, then just put it in the comments below here. We will be monitoring it now and then here while we are live, but also afterwards, if you are watching the replay, we will be informed about whatever you put here in the comments and we will get back to you. So that is how you can participate, interact, show us that you are here, that you are here with us, that what we tell is resonating. And so, Camila, let's start. You wrote this book. Congratulations, because that is amazing. The book is called Empowered Expat Women, isn't it?
Exactly. The Empowered Expat Woman, your A to Z guide to thriving wherever you are. And it really came to be because I have a podcast, even though it's currently on hold, but so much love and care and thought and energy has gone into the podcast where I felt like every episode was like a mini masterclass. So I had all of this content and I thought, what do I do with this? I believe this is really good. I know it's helped people. I need to do something with this and think a little bigger, right? And
Mhm.
that's how the book came to be. I immediately, for some reason, don't even ask me why, I immediately had this idea of the A to Z that just popped into it's just sometimes, right? It's like destiny that you
Yeah.
have a great idea
Mhm.
and I think when you have an idea, and this goes out to everyone, when you have an idea and you feel it's good and you feel passionate about it, you need to act on it. And obviously confidence is a big thing here because you need the confidence to act on your dreams and on your ideas. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely. We are going to talk about confidence. Confidence as such is not really an easy thing. In my work with women that I coach, this is something that is basically confidence, self-concept. It is about self-awareness. It is about how to go after the things that you want to go after, how to manifest your good ideas. Like you have how to find this courage, the persistence, the inner voice that you follow in order to do the things, to self-actualize, to achieve. And then as an expat, when there's a lot of things around you, contextual, but also inside of you that are even a little bit more challenging, I can only imagine how hard it must be. So Camilla, what is your experience? Because you wrote this book also out of your experience with
Yeah.
expats. So how do you see this confidence topic, especially in the expat context? Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about that.
So I think it's definitely a topic that we share in our work. And we both know how important it is for women in general, because women still suffer with less confidence as compared to men, right? There are so many scientific studies that they did where they continuously showed that women tend to underestimate themselves and men tend to overestimate themselves for actually the
Mhm.
exact same skill set or capability, right?
Mhm.
Is something that still, be it out of history, historic and patriarchal and societal conditioning and so forth, it's something that we struggle with a little more. And now when you add to the mix that this woman that we're talking about who is struggling to find that confidence to go after her ideas, to prove herself at work, where still, a lot of the leadership in many companies is still predominantly male.
Mm-hmm.
And you add to that she is a foreigner who
Mm-hmm.
may not speak the language perfectly, who may have an accent, who may look different, who may come from a place that is, and that happens a lot, that is considered less than the country she currently works in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
all these factors, they add up layer after layer of self-doubt, of insecurity, making it even harder for those women to muster up the confidence and display it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we are talking about expats, the women that you work with, Camilla, are there mostly the women that are basically accepting a job abroad? Or are they the women that join their spouses or their partners who have accepted a job abroad? Because this is really making a difference. I think most of the audience right here are people who are working abroad.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's a really interesting question that you asked me because my business used to be called in the very beginning, 6 years ago, the Empowered Expat Wife.
Okay.
And then I realized that more and more of my clients were actually neither wives nor necessarily partners or girlfriends. And they weren't the accompanying spouse, but they were working. And so I think it happened simultaneously as my clientele shifted. I also started to get this aversion of the word wife. All of a sudden, I felt like I don't even want to use that in my branding anymore because
Mhm.
speaking to the wife is speaking to a part of a whole, right? Just half of a
Mhm.
whole,
Yeah.
the wife of the couple. And all of a sudden, I just grew so such an aversion to that word, and I changed it then. That was years ago already to the Empowered Expat Woman. So
Mhm.
a lot of my clients, they're either working in a company or they've started their own business or they're working part-time. But I think things have changed a lot over in the past 6 years. I've seen so many changes.
Yeah.
And this typical accompanying wife that stays at home, you find that less and less because there are more avenues now, probably also thanks to COVID, with virtual work and online businesses and so forth. There are so many avenues now to follow your professional goals and dreams. And yes, so
Absolutely. I do believe that, especially since COVID and especially since we have been starting to work online. So basically, you don't have to be an expat in order to be exposed to intercultural differences in terms of having to talk a different language that is not your native, that is not your mother tongue. So I wonder how many of the aspects that you are working with expat women are also applicable on basically any woman that is working in an international context, because I'm not a native English speaker either. I have an accent. I don't speak perfect English. I don't really care. It's the
yeah,
message that is important. But I do know a lot of colleagues. I have a very dear friend who has an amazing message, an amazing program. And I've heard her several times, almost every time that she's online, she talks about, I don't feel confident because
yeah,
I'm not a native English speaking person.
yeah,
And then this is only one thing that basically is keeping us from going full out, giving 100%. Because if you are afraid to make a mistake, probably you will speak less or you
yeah.
won't show up. Or so basically, I believe that even if we are here now for an audience of expats, this is resonating to many other people also be working in an international
Yes.
context. Does that resonate to you, Camilla?
And also minorities, right? So it definitely does apply to many. I do think that, and this is very individual, like you said, for some people, it won't be a big a deal. And it's actually it can even be an asset to be from a different place. Again,
Mhm.
I think the perception piece here is so important because the way you are perceived, which entails a lot of things, not only the way you show up and your experience, your work experience, your studies, and so forth, but also your country of heritage or your culture, that can also play a role in how you are perceived. And that affects and influences how you perceive yourself and vice versa. So it's like this cycle. And I think that's so interesting when we talk about fostering confidence in women in an international context, and especially now looking at the foreign professional woman, you realize that what is deemed confident in one culture is not necessarily deemed the same in another.
Mhm.
And so now we bring this additional layer of a complication with us because, okay, let me give you an example from my life. I've studied a lot in the US also, and I have a lot of colleagues from the US, and I always admire their really bold display of confidence. It's okay to say that you're good at this and that, and it's even okay to talk about maybe money or how much you earn or how much you would like to earn. There is this boldness about their display of confidence. While in other cultures, that is deemed very arrogant, for instance, or, oh, she's
Mhm.
so full of herself. Look at her. Especially for women, we can't display our confidence a lot of times like the men because we already get like the negative.
Penalized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we already get
Mm.
penalized for that. And I think
Absolutely.
the culture factor is so interesting when it comes to that. And this obviously very much depends on where you are from and what you're used to and where you are currently living and working. But I think what's really important is to get to know the dominant culture that might be the local culture, or maybe it's even your company culture if it's a very
Mhm.
international company. Get to know that very well. Really watch people and how they display their confidence. Learn from that. Adapt to that. Don't hold back just because that's what they do maybe in your country or that's how you've been taught. Do open up to that new way now of displaying confidence. And if it is being more bold and not saying, oh, I'm sorry, or there are some cultures where it's very polite to say I'm sorry a lot of times, but then there are other cultures where it just seems weak and insecure.
Mhm.
It's like that, right?
Yeah.
There are countries and companies where the hierarchy is very much defined and you can't just speak up in a meeting. And then there are others where people do that. So pay attention to that and don't be scared to step out of your comfort zone to adapt to the mainstream. And
Yeah.
yet, having said that, I'm sorry, just like to finish this last sentence.
Absolutely.
Having said that, I believe that it's also so important to find your very own display of confidence that is absolutely rooted within, because real confidence is more than just acting it outward, right? Real confidence is more than just power posing and just speaking up in a meeting and using direct words, for instance, if that's what you're seeing. Real confidence comes from within, and it goes so far as to not only say, I am worthy to voice my opinion in this meeting. I have something to say. I have something interesting to say. It also goes so far as to say, and even if what I'm about to say is something that nobody really thinks any value of, or I made a mistake, I can be fine with that because I'm so grounded within myself and within my own worth and my own confidence that I can even make a mistake and it will be fine. So ultimately, this to me is what confidence boils down to. It's what happens inside. And yet, the outside, the outward expression, it does help. Like a little fake it until you make it. So that can help you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree that authenticity and having your inner confidence and your inner compass is essential. And then adapting it a little bit in order to basically, how can I say that? In order to achieve what you need to achieve is through leadership. Sometimes I call it embracing paradoxes. Sometimes people tell me, yes, but if I act like this or if I behave like that, it's not really authentic. And then I always say, okay, what does your audience need? What does your team need? Then bring that as leadership. Your
Mhm.
team needs what they need. They don't need what you are ready to bring up. So this authenticity is a very important thing in order also to be consistent and to congruent and to make sure that what you do is basically sustainable. And on the other hand, we can make this adaptations in order to make sure that we are not invasive or intrusive or insulting sometimes because of what we normally tend to do or what we used to do is in that country considered as something different, right?
Yeah, I
Does
absolutely
it? Does it help to find a mentor, you think? If you join probably your own company abroad or another company in a leading role, I would think that it would be useful to have a mentor, a local mentor who has some experience with expats and who can bring them the ins, the do's and the don'ts and the tricks and introduce them to the right people so they can build a community again there. How does that work, you think,
I
based
think
on your
so too. I
experience?
I personally have really enjoyed having mentors. I do think it's a lot about, do you click and do you have an understanding for each other? And you already mentioned it might be that someone who is either also an expat or globally minded or has some knowledge of your culture of heritage, especially if you identify very strongly with that. I think that's helpful, even more helpful if it is someone from your culture, right? Because it's that role model effect. And oh, this woman, she's from my country of heritage. She's also a minority in this company, for instance. She's made it, so I can too. In that way, I love how mentorship can work, not only to inform and educate, but also to inspire.
Absolutely. And role models the same. Mentorship is more like something organized, structurally installed in an organization. I believe it's also a good advice to find some role models that inspire you, that
Absolutely.
encourage you, that show you that it sometimes is a little bit difficult and challenging. And on the other hand, there are successes and there's these ups and downs and these flows of being an expat in another country. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you can
Yeah.
find your role models anywhere. They don't even have to be from your line of work. They don't have to be from the country you're from or where you're at. They can be anywhere, and you can find them on Google, or you can buy their biography or whatever it is. So nowadays, we are so lucky. And especially as expats, we notice that, right? Just maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, we weren't able to communicate, and therefore our network was just much smaller, and it was much more challenging to build and to foster a network. And nowadays, networking, I think, is also such an important topic.
Yeah.
So now we have the mentor and the role model, but also our peers, the people that are either on our same level, or maybe they're a little bit ahead, or they're just a little longer in that country. They know a little more, and that can be such a great support system. And as expats, we need a support system because we're already lacking that. And I know that loneliness is such a big issue for probably for all expats, at least at some point of their journeys.
Mm.
Being very conscious and very particular about building the right network from the get-go. So if
Mhm.
you are moving somewhere, do it from the get-go. But if you're already there, start now. Use this life as the momentum to really build a very conscious network of people who share your values and your dreams and where you want to go, and who won't hold you back. Sometimes that might not be your closest friend. Sometimes your closest friend can actually be certainly a lovely person and someone to have fun with or whatever, but maybe it's a person that actually holds you back from thinking bigger. And so look for the right people, especially if
Yeah.
you get ahead in business and in your work. It's so important.
Absolutely. I would say that basically you and I, we both are and work with expats. So for the audience, just connect with us. That's already a first connection if you are not connected with us right now. And also have a look at the other people that are here that are registered because there were like, I don't know, 60, 70 people registering for this live session. So they're all people who have a similar situational background or they would not be here. So connect with them as well. And the reason I'm saying this is that when I moved to Spain 4 years ago, a little bit more than 4 years ago, that was like 3 days before the big lockdown. So I
Oh,
came here. Basically, I live in a pretty isolated place. Actually, I live in the middle of nowhere on the top of a mountain, which was a choice. But I didn't choose to do that, combined with the lockdown, where I was not able to visit or see anybody. And what I did at that pretty soon, I made a commitment to myself that every week I would connect with two people on Zoom that I did not know, and
mm,
also with two people that I did know. And we are more than 4 years later, and still I have at least two conversations per week with women that I don't know, that I watch the profile, I say, hey, there's good energy. There are, we have things in common, we have a vision in common. And basically, Camila, this is also how a while ago we got connected.
Yes.
And you just reach out and you ask to jump on a call. Nothing can happen. The worst that can happen is they say no. But normally, most of the time, they say yes. And you have these amazing conversations that are so energizing and so, inspirational. And you can just ask all your questions in a very informal way, things that happen to you or things that get you stuck. And of course, you can work with a coach like with Camilla if you are feeling a more existential or substantial issue. I would say if you cannot go to HR in your organization, or you are an entrepreneur and you don't have HR, or if you cannot go to a mentor, then find a coach. Find a coach and have these conversations about what you're struggling with, what is keeping you awake at night, and also about your successes, because we love to celebrate successes, don't we, Camilla?
Absolutely. That's a really big part of it is
Mm,
I think not only the inner work that a coach facilitates, it's
mm,
the accountability. I come to realize how big a piece that is, honestly, being held
mm.
accountable because I think we live in a day and age, and I hope I'm not getting off track now, but it is really relevant for this. We live
Yeah,
in a day and
totally.
age where you can go to Google and on YouTube and you can get a DIY for anything, right? 3 steps to start your business, climb the career ladder, whatever it is, right? You
Mhm,
can find that anywhere. So why is it that we have all this theoretical knowledge and we don't act on it? It's because we're lacking the accountability. And I think also what happens right when we swipe, we get numb on social media, right? It's, oh, that's an inspiring quote. Oh, that's a great tip. But then we keep swiping and we're
mhm,
not actually acting on it. I'm just inviting everyone to think, because I have noticed that in my life, how much of what we know do we actually apply? And there comes a point where you need to say, okay, I need to now set very specific goals. I think goals are also, maybe we can talk about this next, because goals, clear goals are so important for
mhm,
developing confidence and having someone hold you accountable, because it's so easy to fall off track.
mhm,
Whether it's that diet you want to start or going to the gym, or it's something about learning something new for your profession or for your personal development, it's so easy to have the idea to get started, and it's even more easy to fall off track. So
mhm,
accountability is a huge thing. And then celebration is another huge thing. It's very
mhm.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a thing that basically, like you say, there's so much available online and there's so much available that we are really looking for, actively, intentionally looking for. There's also a lot available that we are not looking for, but that just enters our
Correct.
space. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so some of these things are interesting or triggering us, but then it is about exactly about applying them. I would say it is also about integrating them. It is about embodying them. And that is
totally.
really a big problem because embodied things, making things like a habit or a routine or a ritual or whatever you want to call it, it takes time and it takes intention. And sometimes we have very good intentions, like we all have the 1st of January, but then life happens. And it is a fact that we have a lot of things on our plate. So it is about putting priorities and it is about making the steps to get out of our comfort zone to integrate that. And when your intention is clear, and like you say, when your goals or your aspirations are clear, when your mission is clearly defined, then it is easier to stay on track, especially if, like you say, Camilla, you then have an accountability partner. I have three. I have
Excellent.
three, basically. Like I have two coaches too, because
Yeah.
I know that I need those.
Yeah.
And we are in the business, so we more than,
Oh, yes.
anybody else know how we need
I
those.
have my coaches, I have
Yes,
several, and I am always working with or in contact with one, because it is a very special energy and a very special field to be in, because it pulls you
exactly.
up. It
Yeah,
continues to pull you up. And even if
yeah,
you fall a little, then it'll pull you right up,
you're
and
there.
you never fall that low again, I feel.
Yeah,
So that's really powerful. And also when you
absolutely.
said the clarity on your goals, that is not only important because like we just said, with social media and with everything that we are bombarded with each and every day, we are so distracted. Especially as women, how often have we been taught that we're such great multitaskers? I know I used to pride myself on being a great multitasker. I probably am, but do I really retain what I'm doing when I'm multitasking? Can I really go that deep? Can I really structure the thing? No, I
No,
can't. So
it's a
I
no.
started to see it as something that's actually really harmful. Sometimes it's necessary, of course,
Mhm.
right? Especially maybe even if you have children like me and they're yelling, and you need to be able to multitask, but don't see it as something that's a good thing to do. Do it
Yeah.
when there's no other way, and otherwise go deep into it. It's so easy to get distracted, and that clouds our clarity. And
Mhm.
the other thing why clarity is so important is because only when we know where we're actually headed can we actually go there. And we need to have our goals lined up. And I think there are so many different ways where we need to see what is our personality, right? There are some people who like to set a very big goal. I'm like that too. I like to have this one passion goal that I'm so eager to achieve, but also a little nervous. And then it stretches you and it makes you
Yeah.
think outside the box. Like, how could I possibly? That can happen because the goal is very big or the deadline is very short. So, stretching yourself sometimes and really forcing yourself to go out of your comfort zone and to do things you haven't done before can take you very far.
Mhm.
But if you are someone who is already overwhelmed with everything going on, and maybe I have so much empathy for that, and so many clients who are telling me, listen, I am speaking in a different language all day, and it's really not my comfortable language, right? So it is really hard for me to speak in that different language. And when I get home, my head is about to explode. And all I want to do is just watch Netflix and just like
Mhm.
stop thinking, right? Have a lot
Yeah.
of understanding and empathy for that also. So if you, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, feel that you are already quite overwhelmed in your current situation, no problem. You can take baby steps, right?
Yeah.
James Clear in Atomic Habits, his book, he says this 1% rule. If you just change something 1%, so that could be 10 minutes more of reading, 10 minutes more, or right? You can go to great length in the long run. Sometimes we totally
Mhm.
dismiss what is possible by just up leveling by 1%, but that is also very valid. So find what
Absolutely.
works for you in your current situation, because when you're overwhelmed, you're killing the creativity and the confidence. So
Absolutely. I think overwhelm, Camila, is also one of the remedies for overwhelm is setting boundaries. Setting
mhm,
boundaries is also a thing that women have a hard time doing. And when I'm talking about setting boundaries, it is about setting boundaries towards others, of course, in terms of how much of your time, energy they can demand or absorb or however they want to do it. It's also setting boundaries to yourself and to your time. Because if you say that somebody is completely depleted when they come home after a full day of work and having meetings in a language that they're not really comfortable to talk to and they're really depleted, it is about, okay, what can I do now in terms of self-care? Netflix can be self-care once in a while, but as a principle, Netflix is not self-care. In terms of
replenishing
self-care, in
that.
order to build more energy, in order to build resilience, in order to build agility, there are so many easy accessible tools and remedies that I can only really absolutely invite to try. Some of them you will like, some of them will say, no, that's not really for me. But I'm thinking about a walk, a brisk walk. I'm thinking about meditation. I'm thinking about yoga. I'm thinking about reading something nice, just to make sure that you can recharge your batteries. It is so important. And we don't do that because we are so exhausted and we let everything go. Does that make sense? I'm like that
Absolutely.
also sometimes. We're all like that. It's not like something judgmental, but it is about think intentionally. If you know that every day of next week, you will be very tired when you come home. Plan some activities already. Maybe talk to a friend so you can do something together. So you have no way to escape because you already committed to it.
Yeah.
There's many ways in order to recharge batteries and to set boundaries in order to be able then to build the energy to chase those ambitious goals.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what
To not
my
let them
go-to,
slip away.
yeah. You know what my go-to method is? I love yoga. I do a lot of yoga. My go-to method are binaural beats. Have you ever tried?
Absolutely. I use them every day, Camila. I use
Really?
them every day. I
I
have a LinkedIn group. It's called Women Leaders Lab, and it's ideas,
Yeah.
tips, and hacks for more efficiency and
Yes,
effectiveness. And every week I put a hack there. And 2 weeks ago, it was binaural beats. They're magic. Yeah,
it's my
absolutely.
ladies, please give it a try. It might be a little weird at first. What I love about it is that I can do that in bed. I don't need to be, I have three young kids and a husband running around and making noises. Sometimes it's a bit hard when they're around to maybe meditate or to do certain things. But what I can always do, what you can always do is just when you go to bed, you put in your binaural beats. You need to listen to them through the headphones because they're like two different frequencies coming into your ears. It's kind of weird sounds, but then they also put a nice tune over it. Try it. Please try
Yeah,
it because I swear by it, and Helena does too. So that there's got to be something.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But not you can use them for so many things because I also use them for focus. Like my app, I have an app. Just check on, I'm sorry, I'm very enthusiastic. That's amazing you bring this up,
Oh,
Camilla.
yeah,
When
I
I
am
go
too.
to binaural beats, just making sure that it doesn't work here. So you have sleep, but you also have like focus. And in
Yeah.
focus, you
I
have
use it to guide my work.
study, brainstorm, flow, information retention, intelligence, learning, and they're different. So basically, maybe we should explain for the audience that does not know binaural beats what they are. Basically, they are creating the hertz level in your brains by bringing noises from different in your both ears. They're different. How can I say that?
Frequencies, right?
Frequencies. And
And
because
then
of that,
your
your brains
brain,
are trying to calibrate that. And then depending on the hertz, they are calibrating into sleep. It's alpha, theta, beta.
yeah.
I'm not an expert there. I'm just a fan.
Creativity, alpha, beta is the frequency that we're so often in when we're like just functioning and a little stressed. And it's
Hmm.
actually really harmful even for our physical health. So getting out of the beta is already so healing. And then you can go as deep sleep, meditation, and even healing
Hmm.
energy. So you can find that on Spotify. I have
Yes.
audiobooks that I've purchased, but if you just want to try
Mhm.
it out, you can just go to Spotify
Yeah.
and and
YouTube.
give it a try and see what
Yes.
happens. And we would love to know. Please
Absolutely.
let us know because we both swear by it, and I would be
Yes.
really interested to know how it's working out for you.
It is so simple. As I said, there's so many simple, accessible things that can boost our energy, that can boost our productivity, that can boost our focus. And I know that overwhelm or putting small goals is because we feel that we don't have the focus or the energy or the attention, we cannot bring it up. And then all these things can help you to do that. And so basically they help you grow. They help you grow in your leadership, they help you grow in your life, and they help you achieve your goals and put bigger goals because we as especially as women we tend to sub-optimize our goals. We're like it's like we have been raised to do that. So I'm pretty sure, Camila, you also that we are both the champions of bigger goals and the supporters of bigger goals also for
You
our
put better.
clients and for
Yeah.
the women that we connect with. Yeah,
And now
definitely.
you're inspiring me about so many different things, and they are all related to confidence. And maybe then we can summarize it all again in the end. But it's all
Mm,
very, very closely related to confidence, right? I think, okay, so my thought process here is when you set big goals, you are likely to push yourself a little more than you set a small goal, right? And it's been shown in psychological studies that that being perceived as capable by others and feeling capable yourself, so having agency and seeing, oh, wow, look at that. It worked out. I did that well. And getting that feedback from others is so important for your self-image. It's extremely important. So that's why sometimes there is this tendency to say, oh, as long as it feels good to me. No, I do think we live in an interconnected world where the feedback we receive, it does inform us, it does tell us something important. And being seen as capable and feeling capable is extremely important for your self-image and the confidence, obviously, that you will display. So that's why I believe setting big goals is a way, and I invite you to just try it out. You can even try it out with something that generally feels quite safe. Like, for instance, now that we talked about languages, it could be something in your native language, right? You don't have to do this huge thing in a different language. Try it in your native language. Push yourself. You will feel so proud. Even if you don't get quite to that goal, you will have gotten really far. You will feel so proud of yourself. And that will give you a boost in confidence. And I think another thing that you inspired, we talked about self-care. Self-care is such an important topic. It's something that I probably should do a little more of even. But I also believe that there are many people who use self-care and relaxation on the weekends, for instance, as an excuse not to push themselves further. No, I need to relax all weekend because I have a really hard job, and on the weekend I just want to relax and don't want to do anything. So now when we go back to that capability element, rest is important, self-care is important. I don't want to argue with that. But I think equally important is keep moving forward, keep finding ways. They can be fun ways to keep moving forward and to proving to yourself that you can do this and you can do that and you can do another thing. To me, that has been so healthy to just stay very active and use enough time to replenish, but not waste time
Yeah. Yeah,
relaxing.
absolutely. Self-care is not an excuse or something like I was a victim all week and I'll have to,
Yeah,
recover in the weekend. Self-care to me, I like to compare it with when you drive a car. When you drive a car, you fill it with diesel or gasoline or whatever it takes. You give it maintenance, you make sure the tension of your tires are fine. So you make sure that basically what you need in order to achieve your goals is in good shape. And
yeah,
self-care is not, I need to have a whole weekend of Netflix. It is not about, I need to have 4 holidays per year. Self-care is a lot more fundamental. It is about good sleep hygiene. It is about what you eat and drink and when you eat and drink. It is about how and when you exercise. It is about when you take time to reflect on what you're doing, because you can set goals, but if you do not reflect if these goals are basically what you really need in order to self-actualize, if they are aligned with your values,
yeah.
then this isn't, you're not taking care of yourself. So self-care as such is a very important concept as long as it is not used as an excuse not to
Yes.
progress. So I completely
I
agree with you
personally
there.
I do feel there is a tendency sometimes to confuse it maybe. And
Mm,
while everyone may have their own definition and their own needs in terms of self-care, I think it's important to make sure that it's not an unnecessary pause that you don't need, but something that feeds you. That
exactly.
yes, that puts the gas in the tank.
Yeah,
Keep
I like
going.
that. Something that fits you. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Camilla, I would like to go back when we were talking about you're there as an expat, you need to build that confidence or maybe rebuild that confidence a little bit. You are in a different culture. You're not sure you understand everything they say or they mean, or you don't know the rituals and the customs. Another thing that I was thinking, and that I have been working with a lot when, here when I am here as a Belgian in Spain, but also when I was like coaching and training in Dubai or in Hong Kong or in Malaysia, where how different those cultures are, is also connecting and communicating. And basically asking questions, being vulnerable in terms of the things that you don't know, and build a connection with your stakeholders so that at least what you can be sure of is that you are building trust and that there are good intentions. So even if something goes wrong, or if there's a misunderstanding, or if there's something that is really surprising and not in a positive way, you have built those relationships with people, those trustful relationships. And so whatever happens or doesn't happen that should happen, there's a possibility to bring that to the table in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think connectedness and communication also are key to build that confidence and to grow that confidence in interaction with other people.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially for women, feeling connected and having this very human component, and you mentioned vulnerability, is something that many of us at least appreciate and thrive on. And again, there are so many different cultures, right? There are cultures where asking a lot of questions and approaching your superiors with all kinds of requests is very normal. And then there are some others where it's just this further distance, let's just say. Again, maybe being very aware of how things are done, but also finding out what is your way, what feels right to you, and what do you need. And if you need to ask another question, maybe you can frame it in a way where you first ask for a meeting if it's not appreciated that you just burst into the office or something.
Yeah.
But also staying true, which is what we said in the beginning, staying true to what feels good to you, and also like fostering your own confidence, good for
Mhm.
your confidence. So also staying true to that. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree. Communication is key. And I think whenever we talk to people, whatever problem we might have to solve, the answers can usually be found there somewhere, which is again
Mhm.
why having a network is so valuable, because you can just throw the question out at the next meeting, or you start chatting with someone and asking for help. I think some people feel like it's a weakness. I think I also, a lot of times, I have felt like I need to figure all of this out by myself. I need to do all of this by myself. But really, you can get so much further when you do ask for help. And not only can you go further, you can help someone else go further as well. Because people, generally, what I have found is that people love to help. People
Yeah.
love to be asked for their advice or their opinion. They're so quick, right, to give some kind of advice that then you can take or leave, of course. But I think genuinely people like to be asked for help if it's not too accommodating. And it creates a beautiful reciprocity is the word, right? That's a difficult
Mhm.
one. Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Uh, That's the one.
Absolutely.
And that can again foster connections, and
Yeah.
connections also feed into confidence, because when we feel like we have found a place where we can just be, right, where we are liked and we are appreciated, then our confidence can blossom in a way, in a different way than if we feel that we're quite isolated or even in a hostile environment. So again, looking for the right people to surround yourself with is absolutely key.
Absolutely. Camilla, you wrote this book, The Empowered Expat Woman. It's an A to Z guide. I love that concept. So we have a couple of more minutes. If you would say, if you go through this A to Z, by the way, the link to order the book will be in the comments section here below. If you have any questions or feedback or whatever you want to share with us, also put them in the comments section here below. Even if you are watching the replay, we will follow this up. But Camilla, if you look at this book from A to Z, what are your three top tips for expats? Which letters would you take out with tips
Oh,
around?
there's so many.
I know, I know. That's why I say three.
Yeah.
We don't have time for all, but what would you
Okay.
be the ones that
I
you
will,
think are most relevant?
yes. So the book is really, I like to think of it as a self-empowerment guide. So it's really not supposed, and I guess that might even be my first tip. It's not supposed to tell you you should do this and that. It's supposed to give you the tools that I believe will help you to figure this out for yourself. And it's tools that I've been using for about 6 years with different clients, and I seen them working. So that was my aim, because I feel like we already live in a world where on the one hand, it can feel quite patronizing sometimes. There are so many rules we need to abide by. Also, again, bringing the expat matter into the mix. There is paperwork, there is visa restrictions, and then homologating, I think the word is, your diplomas and all of that. There are so many things where you need to follow sometimes really silly rules, but you just need to do that. And then there are so many, let me say, quite aggressive marketing strategists out there who make you believe that, oh, you need to buy this course because this will absolutely change your life. And you need to buy this supplement because it will absolutely change your life. And I think everyone is looking for that magic potion and for that remedy, that secret remedy that will change everything. And my message is no. It would be great if there were a magic potion. If you find one, please let me know, because I would also like to buy it. But actually, what we can do for ourselves by empowering ourselves, that is the only thing that matters, and it's the only thing that is real. So empowering yourself, figuring things out for yourself, finding your own way, defining what does confidence mean to you? How do you want to go about your goals? What are your personal goals? They're not what your family and your culture has been telling you. They're not what your neighbor does and what your colleague wants. They're yours, right? So figuring these things out for yourself. That's, I would say, my number one aim for the book and my number one tip to all of you. Another thing, we already mentioned that, but I do feel it's so important. It's something that's inspired me personally tremendously, and it did really change my life, is to stretch yourself and to set much bigger goals than I think a lot of times we purposely set safe goals because we don't want to be disappointed. We want to make sure that we'll do it. But what happens is that when we set a safe goal, the energy that we bring up for it isn't the energy that will get us far. And so often the safe goal is actually the goal that we never hit. And it seems so safe. So what does that do to your confidence? It's shattering, because you're like, I was so sure that I would make it. I just wanted to lose 2 kilos and I didn't make it. And I even put on one. Maybe if the goal had been to lose 10, who knows? If you need to lose 10, maybe you don't, right? But that's just like a generic example. Maybe you would have figured out much more powerful strategies to get there. And the same for your professional life, for your personal life. Set bigger goals, dare to set bigger goals, because even if you think or there is doubt about whether you will get there, I do believe you're much more likely to get close to that than by setting small and uninspiring goals. And then my number two.
Can I add something there,
Yes, please.
Camilla, that I think is very important, because also that we do not set bigger goals, because sometimes we are discouraged by our environment, who are projecting their own fears or their own disappointments on us. I would say set bigger goals and surround yourself with the people that are supporting you
Yeah,
in achieving those goals, if I
yeah,
may. Yeah.
absolutely. I love
Yeah,
this. Mm, And even though it's implicit, but consciously avoid the people that make you doubt yourself or that make you feel ashamed of your big goals. We have
absolutely.
so many, and they might be family members and they might be close friends and people we're related to. It might even be your spouse who's very security driven and thinks that your big ideas are just fantasies. I'm not saying you need to get a divorce and never speak to
Mhm.
your parents again, for instance. Just keep your dreams to keep your dreams for an environment they can be safe in and they can flourish in. And you don't need
Absolutely.
to share everything with everyone.
Mhm.
Um, and your
Absolutely.
ideas, right? This is, I think, the first thing we mentioned. Your ideas and your dreams and your passions, they're there for a reason. Let me use that as advice number 3. They're there for a reason. You have them for a reason, and you need to act on them. That is where your personal sense of fulfillment will come from, your sense of capability and your confidence from doing what you need to be doing. and not looking so much left and right. Another thing, I think everyone falls into the comparison trap or is at risk of doing that. But as expats, because we sometimes lack references, it can be even more obvious because our references are either the locals of the country who are different, right? So comparing it won't get us maybe very far. Then there are the locals of our home country who also have a different lifestyle. So they haven't done what we've done, and they probably maybe stay more in their comfort zone. So that's also not a good comparison. So do not compare yourself. Try not to compare yourself. I know it's very hard. It's easy to say those things, but if you can remind yourself, and whenever you notice a destructive thought, I think if I can add now a fourth last tip, all of these destructive thoughts that weaken your confidence and your clarity and your personal sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, at least, at the very least, call them out. Say, ha, I noticed that you're trying to bring me down, doing it again, right? I think that's a very easy first step that anyone
Yeah.
can do. At the very least, call them out and become aware, because when they run on autopilot, they can do such huge damage. And then there are different steps that we will need to leave for a different conversation. How to
Absolutely. Yeah.
solve that. But that's the very first, become aware of them and call them out and
Yeah.
try to cut them off right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know there are different steps, maybe because we brought it up, maybe we can give one or two.
Yeah.
Celebrating successes and gratitude practice are amazing remedies for these bad things that are all these little voices. And we won't be able to give a lot of explanation about that here if you're not familiar with those practices. I would say we can keep them for the next one. Camila, do you have something in your book about that?
I do. I have the
Oh,
chapter P is the power of words, for instance. And then chapter B is becoming your own biggest ally. And it talks a lot about self-talk and developing a personal allyship, which I would
yeah.
love for you to read that chapter. It's one of my favorites. If you do get the book, ladies, let me know how you're liking it. And I really hope that it will be this super practical guide. That's what I created it for. You don't even need to, like talking about patronizing rules, you don't even need to read it from A to Z, from top to bottom. You can choose what is the thing that I need to read about right now, what is going on in my life, and you can hop back and forth. And I think that's already meant to, or I wanted this to already empower you to figure out your own way and notice what it is you need in every moment.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I do write about that
Beautiful.
also.
Camila, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much also for writing this book for us. So for those of you who just came in or came in halfway, all the information where you can order the book, The Empowered Expat Woman, will be in the comment section here below. And today we were talking about, let me check, because it was a lot. You were so generously sharing all these nudges. We were talking about inner confidence. We were talking about mentorship, creating your network, building trust, setting big goals, empowering yourself, get out of your comfort zone. And we were talking about binaural beats.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
forget that one. That's a good one.
All of these
So,
things that Helena just mentioned, they are all aspects of you building and developing that strong sense of confidence.
mm, absolutely. And they're all here for you to revisit. So the replay will be on this page and it will also be on my YouTube channel, which is the Women Executive Edge. So come back here, refer friends to it if you know it's somebody that might be very interested or that might be helped by the information that we give here. As I said, connect with us if you are not like first-time connections already. Connect with me, connect with Camilla, connect with each other, with the people that were here, because that all people, you're like-minded women and men. There are also some men joining us here. Welcome to connect and build that community of support, ask the questions, support each other, inspire each other. Maybe you can be each other's role models, because role models are not like the Oprah Winfrey's. Role models are women that have leadership, that have a mission, and that inspire. And be one yourself. So thank you so much for being here. It was
Thank
great,
you for
Camila, to
inviting
have this
me.
conversation with you. Congratulations again also with your book.
Thank
It is such a
you.
tremendous work. Such a tremendous
Thank you
work.
so much. It's been such a pleasure to be here and to just have this wonderful flowing conversation, totally unscripted, and we just took it to where it led naturally.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I really enjoyed that, and I hope everyone got lots and lots of value out of it. Please do ask any questions. We'll be around to answer them, and look forward to connecting with all of you.
We will. Likewise. So bye for now and see you next week. Take care, everybody. And thank you, Camilla. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.